And we're going to start this by dividing it into 3 different parts. First, we're going to introduce the basic rules of this draft format. 2. How to start and design your own cube. 3. Setting up the draft once you're ready to play. Alright people, what we've done here is compile a single copy of each card that's relevant for this pseudo battle pack format. Some may know this as a Highlander format where your deck can only comprise of a single copy of each card. In addition, the Yu-Gi-Oh battle pack format adds the idea of both attribute and typing being all the same. Everything is everything. Think of colorless when it comes to Pokemon, except you're stepping into the Shadow Realm here. No longer will certain cards be restricted to one aspect, but rather opens up the possibilities for the most random of cards to be played alongside and against each other. That is the main rule to remember, and the one to continue reminding players that are trying out this format, because people do be forgetting, let me tell ya. We're so used to having to match types and attributes, but with this in mind, it adds a whole new dimension to the game. For example, Tour Guide of the Underworld reads, when this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 3 fiend type monster from your hand or your deck, but it has its effects negated. Also, it cannot be used as synchro material. In this format, Tour Guide will be able to summon any level 3 monster from your hand or deck, while still keeping its synchro restrictions. Another example to consider is Naturia Beast, who will no longer require an Earth tuner, but rather any tuner can be used so long as the level conditions are met. In case you choose to include synchros into your draft, be sure to include plenty of tuners when structuring your cube. If you're looking to summon Elemental Hero, The Shining, you will still need an Elemental Hero alongside any other monster for its fusion summon. As previously mentioned, this format is compiled of a single copy of each relevant card, which not only includes the strongest normal monsters, but also cards made to support them. Banned and pre-eroded cards alike have also found their place in the draft, bringing about interactions that would never otherwise get to see play alongside one another. That being said, there are certain cards that have found themselves to be too strong, even in this format. I'm looking at you, Dragon Rulers. Nonetheless, we've also come up with a fun take on our ban list, but that's something we can explore in a different video for a different day. Now that we've established the main rule of the format, alongside the restrictions for the card pool to pick from, now is the time to start designing your own personal cube. Which is the beauty of this idea, that you get to figure out what you want to play with. In the case of Team Rose, our core, and I repeat, the core by itself, as of now, has a rotation of over 1,000 cards. Excluding the majority of archetype-specific cards, we've only integrated the strongest of normal monsters in the Shadow Realm, and a balance of spells and traps that include removal, destruction, control, and for those that try and figure out how to combo, it's all up to you. I would say, for a 4-player draft session, a good 250 cards is a good place for any cube to start. And what better place to start than your own bulk? The cards that never get to see play, the cards that everyone happens to overlook, can all be adapted for this format. When it comes to designing your own cube, consider seeing cards' interactions in a different way. Something as a simple Water Charmer is able to be summoned by any 2 monsters now. And once you start reading the rest of her effect, you can start seeing how versatile a card like that can be as you come up with a strategy. Despite there can only be one MST, because let's face it, MST is already one of a kind, but there are still a number of cards that are able to provide the same kind of removal, just in a different way. Yu-Gi-Oh as a game has recently surpassed its 10,000th card, so the Shadow Realm is yours to explore, and it all starts with one thing Yu-Gi-Ohs hate the most: reading. Next time you open up your pack, read all 9 cards. You'll slowly start seeing just what you can start adding to your cube. This draft idea came about and has continued from a design aspect, but none of it comes without the potential that Yu-Gi-Oh has as a card game, and those players that choose to remain within it. As a duelist who's partaken in this game in an advanced setting just as much as a casual, I've seen the game through its ups and downs, but it still delivers a challenge for me. So, if you are indeed ready for a challenge, get some of the homies together and be ready to set up your draft for play. One of the main draws when it comes to starting and continuing this project involves being able to play Yu-Gi-Oh with just about anyone, older and newer players alike. You just need to know the basics of the game. Once you've compiled a good assortment of cards, maybe a 50 monster count alongside a 50 split between spells and traps, give the whole cube a good shuffle. We all know just how much certain cards love touching each other. Let's say you're looking to try for a 4-player draft session. Once the cube has been shuffled, you're going to want to make a total of 20 stacks, all comprised of 10 cards each. Afterwards, start stacking them in a crisscross manner so that each stack of cards are divided neatly. Each player should have their own pile comprised of 5 stacks, totaling to 50 cards altogether for each player. And once everybody has taken their seat, it's time to start drafting. Each player will pick up the first stack of 10 cards, select one card to add to their main deck, and pass the rest to either the right or the left, until the first stack of 10 has been divided evenly between all the players. Be sure to keep your main deck apart from the stack meant for drafting. People love mixing up the two, and you'd rather not have to troubleshoot, because believe me, it can get messy. Repeat this in a counter or clockwise direction until each of the 5 piles have been finished. Each player should finish with an even 50 card deck, and then shave it down to a solid 40. We've gone with this setup to try and practice when building a standard deck. In addition, we've also come up with a couple house rules that some may find fun as well. When constructing your 40 card deck, each player is allowed 1 trade with any other participant. Sometimes it can be hard to avoid hate drafting, but this way there's an incentive to trade for something you may actually need. We've also included the Battle City rules, where the winner of the match is allowed to take any card from the opponent's deck while giving them one back, so as to keep the decks all at an even 40. Obviously, house rules up to the players, but these are just some of the fun aspects we've come up with. Set up your brackets, set up your timers, and let's get ready to duel. It's always interesting to see the way people build their decks, older and newer players alike. The way they try and figure out different interactions on the spot, reading old and new cards, but overall, it's intended for a good time with fellow duelists. Not everyone is able to keep up with the pace of the current meta. People may have other responsibilities to attend to, but the sentiment for casual play remains throughout, even if it's just for an afternoon. With this finalization, I'd like to thank those that have made it to the end of this video and the locals in our San Diego area. It's taken me quite a long time, not only to design the cube, but getting people together, recording, editing, uploading, and many failed attempts, believe me. Oof. But all this is new to me, so I hope that this project can at least reach some of those with a similar interest. So any support is appreciated. A sub, a like, a comment, but I'm also an artist at heart. So if you'd like support, check out my website. Así es la vida. I may not be in the same light as a GOAT, Amanda La Palm, but the artwork that I do comes about from my personal journey. So if you're wanting to support someone's growth and motivation to just keep moving forward, the links will be underneath. With all that said, I'd like to direct you to the first part of what we're calling the Yu-Gi-Oh Draft Series. The first installation in my attempt to shine a light on the individual mechanics of the game. So, to start it off, this tournament was held without an extra deck, taking us back to the beginning in the basics, a more GOAT format approach. Except, as I've said, you're stepping into the shadow realm here. So for those that are ready, welcome.